Hey guys, welcome back to some more reviews. The Explorer 4 here, the Horror Boy. And before I get into this movie, if you're a fan of this reboot, or remake, or whatever it is, apparently it's a reboot. It's not a remake, it's a reboot. But if you're a fan of this reboot, just letting you know, just to throw it out there, I am not a fan of this movie at all. So you're probably not gonna like the things that I'm gonna say about this movie in this review. Of course, I'm going to try and stay as calm as possible and be as fair as possible. I also want to throw this out there. I went into this movie with an open mind. Even looking at that runtime, which is an almost 2 hour runtime, I went into it with an open mind. I said, you know what? I'm actually a pretty big fan of the Wrong Turn series. I am. The first Wrong Turn, over the years, I have grown to think that it's not overrated, but it's one of those movies that I've heard people say was like one of the best horror films of the 2000s. And I look back on it, and I even have it right here. I look back on it, I do love the first Wrong Turn. Don't get me wrong. I love the first Wrong Turn. I think it's a great movie. There are times where I have issues with it, but if I do another review on it one day, I want to get into that in more detail. I have a few issues with it, believe it or not, but I think overall it's a pretty good movie. Now, I was always a fan of Wrong Turn 2 a little bit more because Wrong Turn 2 really ramps up the gore, ramps up the fun factor, makes it just a crazy, gory ride, twisted movie. I thought Wrong Turn 2 was a big step up. This is actually my favorite one, but I do really enjoy the first one. And I even have another one that I really enjoy. Believe it or not, I have funked this movie. Yes, it has issues. It has some really dumb characters and it has some dumb moments. The acting at times, I feel like the script had a couple of issues. There is some bad CGI. Like I said, there is some bad decision making in this movie. But I like the snow atmosphere. I like the idea of it being an asylum. I like the idea of it being a prequel. I know, crazy. I do like that idea. I like the kills. I like the gore. There are moments of the movie that I really liked, that I thought visually it looked good. I liked, the kills. As a slasher movie, I think it's a really, really fun time, Wrong Turn 4. This is the best of the Declan O'Brien movies. I believe he made 3, 4, and 5. I don't think he made part 6. I can't remember. But this is my favorite of those ones. Now, yeah, I'm not a really big fan of some of the other ones, and now that I've seen this movie, I do want to do a ranking video, so I don't want to get too much into those movies. But, yeah, just throwing this out there. If you're a fan of this reboot, you're probably not going to like what I have to say about this. And also, I want to say this before we get into the video. Spoiler alert. This will be a spoiler review, so if you have not seen the Wrong Turn reboot, remake, whatever, I'm going to be spoiling it here. So just throwing that out there for you guys. This will be a spoiler review. Now, this movie, of course, that we're talking about today is the 2021 reboot of Wrong Turn. And just like Cabin Fever, you're remaking Wrong Turn. I'm over here like, these movies didn't come out that long ago. Like, yeah, it's crazy looking at it. I mean, the first Wrong Turn is almost 20 years old. Now, that is nuts. Cabin Fever is 20 years old, which is, wow, that's crazy. But they're not that old. They're not movies that I look back on and I go, yeah, man, this movie's really aged. And, I think it really needs a remake. No, I mean, there is like I said, I do have issues with it. Like, I do think that the CGI at times doesn't hold up that much. But other than that, it's not like it's this movie that's like made 40 years ago that needs a remake. And it's not even that this is a remake. You didn't need a reboot either. You didn't need a reboot. And the fact that this is connected to the Wrong Turn series, it frustrates me, man, because this is barely a Wrong Turn movie. And like I said, spoiler alert, so I'm going to be getting to spoilers. The only thing about this movie that's even remotely similar to the other movies is that it takes place in the forest and you have people dying. That's it. That is it. And you know what? I knew going into this movie that there was no mutants. It wasn't like I didn't know that. It was told to me, And I said, you know what? I actually do want to see this because I like the idea of these killers looking like that. Like, that's really cool. I like that idea of them having, the ghillie suit and the look of the skulls, the animal skulls and the antlers. Cool look. There are things in this movie that I thought were cool ideas. And I kind of wish they would have taken it in a different direction. Like, let's not make it about these teens out in the woods being killed off one by one. If you're going to bring in Matthew Modine, make him the lead. Make him it's more of a missing person movie where he goes out into the forest looking for his daughter, finds out that there's this group out there. You would think it's a bunch of mutants at first, but then they do that whole thing where no, it's actually this group out there. And Matthew Modine has to go into badass mode and try to figure out how he's going to save his daughter. And then maybe you can have, I don't know, a search party go with them. And if you really want a body count, you can do it that way and get some gory kills. And have this idea of this backwoods, village of people who are living there. And it was before, I think they said like before the Civil War or something like that. And I don't mind the idea of it being different. Actually, I do have a lot of respect for films that are different. I really do. It's not really any of those things. But before I get into any of that stuff, the plot of the movie, you have a group of kids going out. They're in Virginia, and they're up in the hills. They stop in this town, and they begin to talk to people. They get out of there, and they end up heading up to the woods, which they're pretty much warned by everybody not to go to, but they go to it anyways. They get out there, and there are these people out there in these ghillie suits with these animal skull masks on, and they think they're there to kill them. So one of them kills the person in the ghillie suit, and they end up all getting taken to this place. A couple of them get killed off one by one. And when they get there, they realize that there are these people living back in the woods that have been there since before the Civil War. And they went there because they knew the war was going to make everything fall. So they all went there, and they've been there for generations. And basically, these people got to figure out, are they going to join them? Are they going to fight them? How are they going to get out of this? And that's basically the rundown of just a general rundown of the plot. I mean, there's a lot more that happens in between, but I want to get into the movie's details for a second because, you know what? Before I get into the gripes I have, because believe me, there's a lot of gripes to this movie. It gets a 5.5 on IMDb. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. Figure I'd just throw it in right there. Positives. I want to get into positives. I always do. I always want to be positive during a review. I always want to give movies a fair shot. Whether it's a sequel, remake, reboot, and whether or not it's unnecessary, I always try to give movies fair chances. And that's why I say, if I don't like a movie, I gave it a fair shot, and it just did not work. It did not fall through, and it was a disappointment. And this movie is exactly that. It is a very, very big disappointment. And more. But positives. Number one, I think the movie looks pretty good. It's shot well. The cinematography, I think, is some of the best of the series. And I do stand by that. It is some of the best cinematography in the series. I mean, it looks great. Every shot looks fantastic. The atmosphere of the woods. Cinematography was on point. I do give them credit for that. The look of the, killers, I thought was cool. And I really wish they would have went a different direction with it, made it about these people trying to kill them. And even though it sounds like it is, it really isn't, because they try to say like, we don't just kill people, we warn people, and your people killed one of our people, and it became one of the, it's I'll get into that in a second. That's a part of the problems right there. The whole plot is a part of the problem. But I like the look of the killers. I like the idea of the ghillie suits and them having moss all over them and having the axe and the, bow and arrows and the mask. I thought it was a really cool look. You know what? I don't mind the idea of them being different. Of an idea of this group way back in the woods, them putting these suits on and hunting people down. Maybe they should have made them cannibals. I feel like that would have made it a lot more scary if they were actually cannibals and they were actually going out there and trying to get these people and hunt them down for food and stuff like that. I would have gotten more into it if it was like that. But I do like the idea that, okay, let's be different. Let's not completely shot for shot remake the original Wrong Turn. Which, to be honest, when I first heard about this movie, I thought they were going to do that, where it's just a shot by shot, frame by frame remake. And you know what? I do respect the fact that this is not a carbon copy of the original Wrong Turn. So respect points there. As far as positives go, though, I'll give you one more. The acting from certain characters isn't bad. You know, the lead chick, I believe it is the Charlotte Vega character. I think she did a pretty good job. Matthew Modine did a pretty good job. The boyfriend character did a pretty good job. Some of the other characters I thought did decent performances as well. So the acting wasn't too terrible from most of the lead characters. That's about it for the good things, though. Let's get into the bad things. This whole plot to this movie, I thought was one of the dumbest plots in the Wrong Turn series. And in my opinion, this is one of my least favorite Wrong Turn movies. It's down there with like Wrong Turn 6 and 3. This may even be my least favorite Wrong Turn movie. And the reason for that is because I thought this plot was a big problem to the movie. I thought it was one of the dumbest plots in the Wrong Turn series. Because you're telling me that this group of people is way back in the woods and everybody's just fine with it. Like, everybody knows they're there, they know where they're at, they know the location of this village and everything. But there's no cops that go up there. They know they've been killing people and taking them hostage and whatever. But yet, they don't go up there and take them out. At least in these movies, it was more of an urban legend thing where, no, we don't know if it's true or not, and there's supposedly mutants out there, but we don't know where they're at. So you can maybe believe it a little bit more. And I get it. These are slasher movies. But this is barely even a slasher movie. I can't even really say it is a slasher movie. This is trying to make it a serious thriller more than a horror film. There's not much horror elements to it. Trying to make it a thriller Wrong Turn movie. This one was more of a thriller than this. This one was more of a horror film than this. This is having dumb characters out in the middle of the woods, them saying some awful dialogue. All these characters are unlikable. The lead chick is over here talking about how, because this guy, I guess in this bar, basically this one guy was kind of like, basically telling him like, oh, leave me alone. You're nothing but, you know, a redneck. You don't know what you're talking about. And this dude is like, yeah, well, you never had a real job and you're just a bunch of yuppies and da-da-da. And then the lead chick is like, actually, we do have jobs. And she goes into what they all know. And she's like, I have master degrees. And I didn't, what? I did not care for her character. Now, her acting wasn't a problem. The character I thought was annoying. You have this basically asshole couple, which I didn't care for them either. You got a guy that will leave his girlfriend in the middle of a situation. Like, there's a part where his girlfriend falls into a spike area, and he just leaves her there. He also leaves her when the tree is falling down on them. He, like, leaves her twice. And his girlfriend, all she does is complain. And the boyfriend character, this guy right here, decent character to the end of the movie where he decides, no, I belong in this place. These people care for me, and I'm going to stay here. And I'm like, you're going to stay in this village after they just murdered your best friends right in front of you? To the point to where their best friend got his head bashed in right in front of them. And you're telling me that, I don't know if it's a couple years later, a couple months later, I don't know. But it's obviously some time later because his hair is growing out and he's got a beard. You're telling me that just because a couple months later you've been in this village and they've taken you in, which that's also dumb because they were getting ready to throw these people away into this chamber. I guess it's like it's going to be like sentenced to darkness. And I guess what it is they gouge your eyes out and they throw you in this cave. Creative idea. Led to a creepy scene. That was the one scene in the movie I thought was really creepy and out there and strange. You had this cave full with all these blind people that have their eyes gouged out and they're all going crazy. Okay, decent idea. But these people are going to get thrown in there, and then just like that, like, we can join you guys. And they're all like, okay, you guys can join us. What are you guys good at? And the boyfriend's like, I never quit. That's literally what he says. Like, I never quit. They say, okay, you can come with us. You can join the group. You can join the village. They take him in and teach him how to, survive, I guess, whatever. And then the girl, they ask her why they should keep her in the village. And she's like, I'm healthy. My babies would be healthy. I have no, family health issues, like, in my bloodline. And I can have healthy babies and stuff like that. And these characters do not have any good dialogue. The dialogue to these characters would not be said by humans. They just wouldn't. There are scenes in this movie where I hear the dialogue and it's irritating to me. So I'm like, why are they talking like this? Why can't they just talk like normal teenagers? Like, why do they have to be over here? Like, when this one guy dies, this other guy's like, he's not there. It's just his body. He's in a better place. He's moved on. But he said it in a really goofy way where I was like, why did he say it like that? Or why is it when they're in the middle of driving through this town, they're like, yeah, we're, this is just the country and all this is rednecks and da-da-da. And I'm like, what is this dialogue? Like, this dialogue I thought was so stupid. Big issue as well, the script and dialogue and the plot. That's some big problems, man. And there was times where these characters were so annoying, so irritating, I didn't care about any of them. Except for a few. Like, the lead chick at times, I didn't care for her as a character, but her acting wasn't that bad. This guy, again, you start to get into his character, but then he joins the village after they murdered his friends. Stupid. I'm sorry, stupid. This probably is my least favorite Wrong Turn movie, and that's saying a lot. Because Wrong Turn 3 is a pile of crap. Wrong Turn 5, I think, is one of the most worthless sequels in the series. And Wrong Turn 6 is a dumb movie with a very similar plot to this movie. Where they tried to have, there's this cult, and there's this village full of inbred people, and it's part of this cult. Similar to this movie, and it does not work. I don't know how many times they gotta try this in this series. It does not work. And this plot, it could have been cool, but the way they took it with them being in this village, talk about how, we don't have cancers, and we don't have, debt, and we don't have all this stuff like you do. We're the true survivors. And then they are over here talking about how they have this court, and they're going to judge these people, and it was all just stupid to me. It was stupid to me. It has one of the most dumbest plots in the series. I did not get into this plot. I did not get into these characters. I did not get into this story at all. What I thought they should have done was make it more about Matthew Modine. Have him go out there, try to figure out what's going on. Could have done something like that, man. Could have done something like that. I'm not sure why they decided to do this whole, once again, we're going to have a Wrong Turn movie where these teenagers go out there and they're going to get picked off one by one, which it barely even does that. The kills are nothing. They cut away from half the kills in the movie. I can't even tell you a single shot in this movie where there's some decent gore. You could have given me some decent gore at least. You could have been like, you know what, alright, it's a very different movie, it's out there, it's barely a Wrong Turn movie at all, but we could have given them some gore. So let's give them some gore. But no, there's not really any gore in this movie. Most of it cuts away. I know people are like, well, what about the unrated cut? There could be an unrated cut. There's no reason to have an unrated cut. You can have the gore in there. I've seen R-rated movies that have more gore in them than this movie does. I'm just saying that would have really helped the movie. Because then you would at least have one more thing where it's like, okay, it's pretty out there plot, but at least it has some good gore. At least it has some good practical effects. It has maybe a couple shots of some decent bloody stuff. Like, the deaths, okay, this girl, she falls into a pit and there's spikes in there. Okay, it's practical, whatever. She gets shot by an arrow. The one death scene that I actually really liked was this guy falls into this pit and they're reaching to grab him, and Matthew Modine looks up and notices there's this concrete slab with spikes in it. And as he moves out of the way, it falls and it crushes the two guys in there. Very, very intense death scene. I thought it was done very well. That was a well done death scene. The lead girl, she's killing some of these people in the village. I'm trying to remember some more. This guy gets his brains bashed in, basically. One guy gets killed by a tree that falls, which was the first kill of the movie, which I was over here like, okay, did these, people make the tree fall down? Or did the tree literally just fall down and just crush somebody? I couldn't tell. Maybe it was a trap? I couldn't really tell. But I was over here like, okay, this dialogue was making me irritated, and you're telling me the first kill of the movie is a tree rolling down a hill and crushing a dude? And you don't even see it crush him. It's a cutaway. And there's way too many cutaways. Another big problem. Why is this movie almost 2 hours long? That did nothing to help the experience. So you already got dialogue. You already got a dumb plot. You already got some stupid moments. And then you add on a 2 hour long, almost 2 hour long runtime. The movie's pacing slows down. It drags. About halfway through, it slows way down and it drags. Because then it cuts back to Matthew Modine, and he's going out there, and he gets captured, and then they escape, and then, like I said, that one guy just joins the village for no reason after they murdered his friends in front of him. It was stupid. Then the one chick, you find out that she's pregnant with the kind of leader of the village's baby, which I thought, why was that in there? And the movie also has a pretty bad ending. They're getting out of there, they're fighting them off. You have some decent scenes here and there of them fighting off these different villagers and stuff like that. And then it ends with she goes home and she thinks everything's okay. Then the leader tracks her down, goes to her house. You think he kills her entire family for a second. And then they fake out the ending with a lame ending, which, I thought the way the movie should have ended was what they were going to go with. Minus the whole family being killed off. You should have had it where she grabs the knife, she goes up, she finally fights him and kills him, and then she moves on with her life. But no, they do this fake out ending where you think she climbs on the table and goes to stab the leader of the village, but he dodges and he kills her entire family, and then she kills him. It's almost as if they had an alternate ending, and they said, well, we still want to use that ending. We don't want to just have one ending. So let's use both endings. Let's make this dream, I don't know if it's a dream sequence or whatever, but let's do this fake out ending where you think it's going to go this way. But then the real ending is her joining them, going with them, and she's going to go back to the village with them as long as they spare her family. And that's the way the movie ends. It ends on a downbeat ending. Of course, you got to have that cherry on top of this crap sundae of a movie. And you know what? I don't like to be that negative. I try to be positive. But when you're having it to where the characters are super, super annoying, you're having bad dialogue through most of the scenes that was really irritating. You have characters making dumb decisions. You have characters just, like I said, I already said it, being stupid. You had a plot that I thought didn't really fit Wrong Turn at all. This could have been a completely different movie. Why was this called Wrong Turn? This is a cash-in movie where, okay, it's in the woods and you have killer-like characters, so we're going to call it Wrong Turn. There was really no point in calling it Wrong Turn. It's as far from Wrong Turn as possible. So you could have called it something else and been original, but no, they called it Wrong Turn. Kind of get that cash-in going on with it. But, so you got that stuff. You got nothing kills. You got no gore, barely. Everything's cut away. You've got a score that, I didn't really get into. I can't remember one piece of music. But this movie, I think, has some decent direction. But yeah, I think it has a lot of problems. I think it does. It's my least favorite one. It's the one with the dumbest plot. It's barely a Wrong Turn movie. It's a cash-in movie. I'm just being real. I'm being honest. This is my honest opinion. Least favorite wrong turn movie is this. Not a fan of it at all. It gets a solid 4 out of 10 to me. Maybe a 3 out of 10. Somewhere around there. Not a fan of this movie at all. Very, very disappointing film. Because I was going into it, and I seen the trailer, and I was like, hey, this looks pretty good. I was into the trailer. I was like, yes, this looks good. But, yet again, another reboot that really let me down. And it just has a lot of problems, man. It is my least favorite one of the series. This Wrong Turn, pretty bad movie right here. Not a fan of it at all. But anyways, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Just going to go ahead and say that. Not a fan of it at all. 3 out of 10 for me. If you've seen the Wrong Turn reboot, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this movie. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. Explorer 4 is out. Peace.